day, my wonderful and successful international students. Have you ever been in a classroom once you have already arrived at your destination and taking these classes in English, perhaps, which is not your first language? You're feeling everybody's understanding and you're not really getting what the class is about. Or sometimes, I don't know, maybe you have spent a lot of time working in a project, and when you submit, you keep thinking, they're going to realize I'm a fraud, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not good enough for this postgraduate degree that I'm making, or I'm not good enough for this bachelor's degree, for this diploma. Well, these doubts that you probably have in these feelings, I have to tell you, it is normal for international students to feel them, to go through them. And unfortunately, they're based on a myth. And this is called imposter syndrome. And this myth is usually based on the trap, a perfectionist trap. Remember, I told you in one of my previous videos, I was reading this book, The Perfectionist Trap by Thomas Koren. Well, today we're going to be analyzing where this imposter syndrome for international student is coming from. But also, we're going to talk about some strategies that may help us tackle maybe and try to understand how to work around this imposter syndrome that sometimes is going to be an obstacle to be able to reach our best version of ourselves. My name is Ada Sandobal, and you're here at the Successful International Student. Okay, so let's get right to it. Let me start by giving you some examples. When I was the director for study abroad programs and international academic mobility, it was very sad for me to see that sometimes we would have scholarships available for our students, and students were not applying for the scholarships. And for a long time, I couldn't understand what was happening. We were like posting, all around college, all around the campus, information we were sharing. We were having orientation sessions, information sessions, and still students were not applying. And we had some academic terms in which some of these scholarships actually nobody applied for them. And I couldn't believe it because I knew many of our students were very talented, and I knew many of our students probably were actually interested about studying abroad, but I just couldn't understand why they were not applying until, of course, I realized that imposter syndrome. I had the opportunity to talk to many of our students, and they actually shared the fact that I didn't apply because I honestly didn't think I was going to get it. And by talking and having discussions with these students, we realized, wait, you do have what it takes. It's just a matter of applying. But if we think about it, sometimes we are our worst enemy. And sometimes when we don't get what we want, it's because we don't even start by thinking or realizing, wait a minute, I think I can get this. And that's why I believe this imposter syndrome feeling is so damaging to all international students. So what we're going to be doing today, based on this book that I was telling you about, there are three main reasons, three main areas that we're going to analyze in which the imposter syndrome is based on. The first one is going to be, it's not you, it's the system. The number two, which is divided actually in two other myths, is the average misconception and the logic of linear progress. And the number 3 point that we're going to be analyzing is how our cultural backgrounds affect this perfectionist trap and make it even worse. Okay, so the first one, it's not you, it's the system. If we are international students, we are entering a world that requires for us to be perfect, to get the best grades, right? If we were able to be accepted in these universities abroad, is because we are the best of the best. And don't get me wrong, when we talk about some imposter syndrome, we're not talking about you giving up or not trying to be the best of the best. Of course, we should always try to thrive and be the best of the best. But this imposter syndrome is based on the idea that the system requires you to be perfect, whereas no one is 100% perfect, but the system creates perfect people, right? Even in social media, what you see, you're always going to see the best of the best, the winners. But what you never see, or what we never really see, is those hundreds of thousands of students that are doing their best, that are maybe even doing the best thing they can, but they don't make it to the social media reels, or they don't make it to the prizes, they don't make them to winning all these different awards, etc., because only a few of them get those prizes. So the system itself of higher education is designed in a way in which it's almost telling us you must be perfect, but this is not natural. We cannot be perfect at absolutely everything we do. And this is a systemic issue. In some countries, this is even bigger. Remember, I have talked about this with some of you, students in Korea or Japan, the levels of anxiety and the levels of depression they go through. This is a real disease that in many cultures students go through just because they cannot be perfect to get accepted into universities. And this is usually connected to their worth, which leads me to point number 2, which is divided in 2, remember? The 2 overbearing logics of perfectionism. And the first logic is the average misconception. And in this case, this is based on the fact that your worth is based on your achievement. And this is very damaging to ourselves, because we believe that if we don't get the number 1 prize, we believe that if we don't get the best average, if we don't get the best GPA, we are not worth. And we have always seen average as something bad. And we're going to connect this in the area point number 3 in a minute, because this also comes from our families, right? And the way we were raised. Unfortunately, average is always seen as something negative. But why? If being average is already giving us the opportunity to be abroad, to be good students, to be passing exams, to be graduating, to be getting good jobs, it's this idea of average is bad and average is wrong. And of course, this is part of the myths that are being discussed in the book. All right. Now, the other overbearing logic of perfectionism is that all the progress has to be linear, and all the time we're advancing is giving one step ahead and one step beyond and always going up, which it is not. We know, because we have read a lot of books and we have read, there's a lot of research on this. Progress is not linear. Progress looks like this. And sometimes when you get 2 steps ahead, you also have to take 1 step back. And sometimes you're going to get 3 steps ahead, maybe even 4 steps back, and maybe change your route, change the path that you were taking originally. And that is okay. I always tell my students, whatever you see as failures, no, you're not failing. You're just learning one way of not to do something. And now it's up to you to get that opportunity to change your route and learn from that mistake. But it's not easy. It's not easy to get away from this misconception that progress has to be linear, and every little mistake I make is going to make me less, it's going to make me not worthy, etc. And the point number 3, which is I think the biggest one here, the cultural background and how we were raised believing that the perfectionist trap was the only way to go. Now, here we have to talk a little bit about the cultures. Many of us were raised in a culture in which you had to be the best of the best of the best, right? And I'm going to share one of my personal examples here. I remember when I was in 6th grade, my auntie Tere, she was my teacher. Okay, I was very lucky and I was actually very excited because she was going to be my teacher. What I didn't know is that I was going to actually suffer a lot during that year, because even though I was always a girl, that in Mexico I was getting 8s and 9s, which is 80-90% out of 100, or let's say A minus, maybe A minus and A's. My auntie Tere, I remember, will shame me in front of all the other students when I will get an A minus, for example, and she will say like, why are you getting an A minus? You are my niece and you must get an A plus because this is, I cannot believe this. This is, I'm so ashamed of you. I can't believe this is happening. And when you think about it, what this does to a sixth grade girl, 12-year-old girl, I know a lot of damages, right? That's why I'm in therapy now. But I imagine, and I can imagine many of you international students also somehow felt this pressure from home. And right now here in Canada, I have students in the same situation. As I have already told you, I have students coming from cultures in which they must be perfect. Why? Because they are representing not only their culture, their country, but also their family. And if they don't achieve the best, if they don't become the best of the best, it's almost like they are shaming their families. So this perfectionist trap, it's within us and it's very, very hurtful. Now, let's talk about some of the 3 strategies also that this book is going to help us with. Strategy number 1, some actionable strategy that we can do to actually tackle this imposter syndrome. First one, reframe perfectionism into strategic and effective actions. And I'm going to help you understand this. For example, we have to understand that when we're arriving into a new country, we are going to fail at certain things, meaning we are in a new environment, we're in a new world, we're going to do things we have never done before. Therefore, I need to accept from the beginning, perfection is not a goal here. However, being strategic and effective at what activities I am trying to, focus on, activities that I'm trying to pay attention to, that is something we can do. And here's the example. I have students coming from cultures in which they are not used to having class discussions, for example. In Western universities, in Western educational organizations, it's very common to have students discuss a topic in class and share their ideas. However, there are a lot of countries in which students are just meant to be sitting down, listening to the teacher, only paying attention, listening, never even speaking in class. So when they arrive here in Canada and we have them have class discussions on day number 1, they feel they are failing. They don't know how to begin a conversation. They don't know how to begin a discussion. They don't know how to share their ideas. And this can be really demotivating for a lot of students because they might believe, wait a minute, how come all the other students can talk and speak up and share their ideas and I can't? Well, you have never done it. Maybe you come from an educational system in which you have never done it. So do not try to be perfect, but start taking some actions towards maybe trying something you have never done. So instead of seeing this as a failure, see this as, okay, I need to develop a new strategy. I need to develop a new skill, and I need to learn how to speak in class and feel more confident. And this is not going to be linear progress. Remember, some days you're going to feel more confident. Some days you're going to feel less confident, but that's the way it is. Just forget about being perfect. Every little step you take, you're already taking one step ahead, and you're taking one step into something better, into something that you were not 2, 3, 4 months ago. So hooray for you. Okay. Now, strategy number 2, practice self-compassion and respectfully set boundaries. Now, why is this so important too? Adaptation in a new country, in a new environment, is going to take months, sometimes even a year and a half for you to feel comfortable or to feel that, okay, I'm starting to feel not as an outsider anymore. It takes a lot of time. So you need to be compassionate with yourself. Try to think, how would you help a friend? For example, what would you tell a friend who is suffering from this not feeling adapted, not feeling awkward, feeling doubts of maybe I'm not good enough? what would you tell a friend feeling this way? Try to talk to yourself in the same way. Be very patient with yourself, and please put in practice self-compassion. But the setting of boundaries is as good, and as important as the self-compassion. And this has to do with talk to your family and friends back home. Sharing what this new don't understand, and they will not understand. And we're going to have another episode in which we're going to talk about how to handle expectations from our family and friends back home and the reality that we're living, because that's another very big issue and a very important topic that we'll be talking about. But this could be also a strategy to help you with your imposter syndrome. The imposter syndrome increases if at home, from home, you're receiving messages like, what are your grades? And how are you doing? And are you the best? Your imposter syndrome gets out of hand when we have all this external pressure as well. So the external pressure, talk to your friends, talk to your families, share with them also your small successes. And it's okay if they don't understand 100% what we're going through. They will never understand it at 100%, but set boundaries. Mom, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, I'm very happy to share that I had a class presentation this week, and I had never done a presentation like this, and I'm very proud of myself. Don't worry about the grade. I will get there, but I'm very proud of this achievement that I got. So also share this with your families and friends so they also understand your new reality, and they don't put so much pressure on you, and they also start getting away from the perfectionist trap. Okay. The last recommendation I have for you, it's very important. Seek culturally aware support in your new community, in your new country, and in your new environment. And I'm going to give you some examples. Here at Vancouver Community College, we have a lot of areas and departments that provide a lot of support for international students. But what makes me very, very sad is our international students hardly make use of all the services we have for them. We have so many services to help them. We have English classes. We have lab computer classes. We can teach them how to create better presentations. We have actually classes in which we teach them how to give a presentation in front of an audience, right? We have all the different areas and departments that you can imagine, and not a lot of students use these resources. That's why this is the recommendation that I give you. If you want to deal with your imposter syndrome, we need to learn that asking for help doesn't make us weak. And this is again related to our cultural backgrounds. In many cultures, asking for help means I am weak, right? We need to get away from this idea, because no, asking for help is actually healthy, and it's part of also that self-compassion with yourself. So first, in your community, find your people, find your tribe. Now, I'm going to give you an example. When I arrived here in Canada about 4 or 5 years ago, I knew I needed to make friends. And I knew sometimes at school, I wasn't going to find a lot of friends from Latin America, because less than about 1% of international students here in Canada are from Latin America. So we're not the majority, right? So what I did, I went to my cell phone, I downloaded an app that is called Meetup, and I tried to look for groups of people with similar interests than mine interests. So this is what I did. I found a group of ladies, because I'm a lady, of course, a group of ladies that would meet every Sunday morning at Stanley Park for a walk. So I joined the group of ladies, and I will go Sunday mornings for a walk with all these different ladies. And I had the opportunity to meet wonderful people. And again, you have to be very patient with yourself, because you're not going to become best friends with all these people, but you are trying to connect, to try to find your tribe, to realize you're not alone. Now, another idea I can give you is try to join many of the clubs that you have available for international students at your school. When I went to high school in Marysville in Washington State, I was very happy to join the international club. And that was amazing, because I was able to actually get together with other students from Japan, from Spain, from Belgium, from Korea, from China. And we were all scared and we were all going through the imposter syndrome. And it was just great to be able to be with other students and realize, oh, I'm not crazy. Okay, it's normal to have these feelings of feeling awkward or feeling I'm not good enough. So finding your tribe, trust me, is going to help you realize there's nothing wrong with you. It's normal what you're going through. And this imposter syndrome, let's get rid of this, because this is just damaging myself, okay, my self-worth, etc. And also make sure to use then your university resources. As I already mentioned, the universities usually provide a lot of resources for international students. So join the clubs. Usually we have school unions for students. So join as many groups as you can. And trust me, this is going to help you also realize it's not that you're awkward. It's not that you're good enough. We are all going through the same. You're not alone. Now, to conclude, imposter syndrome for international students is not a personal defect. It's a logical reaction to an illogical situation. Why? Because you are navigating a new academic system where learning classes are different, everything's different. You're also navigating a new culture, values, principles, traditions, everything is different. And finally, you're also navigating high stakes from family and friends back home. So this makes the whole experience for international students so alien that imposter syndrome is just a logical reaction to everything that you're going through, okay? Now, remember, your goal is not going to be perfect, but to become a skilled, resilient learner. And make sure you can also adapt as you navigate into this new environment, okay? Now, as I always tell you at the end of my videos, remember, it's not only about studying abroad, it's about thriving abroad. And I am sure you're good enough. I'm sure you've got this. I believe in you, and I'll see you in my next video. Ciao.